My name is David.
Yes, I need to introduce you first.
Oh, all right. Thank you.
One moment.
All right.
¿Ya está listo, Eduardo?
Listo.
La grabación. ¿Ahorita?
Ya estamos. Sahai. Adelante.
Ok. Les damos la bienvenida a la sesión del Seminario Permanente de Temas Urbanos organizada por la comunidad estudiantil del Doctorado en Urbanismo de la Universidad Autónoma del Estado de México. Esta sesión se transmitimos desde las ciudades de Texcoco y Toluca en México y Juba en Sudán del Sur. La conferencia de hoy es presentada por el maestro David Geng Kech Guandong. Esta sesión se transmite simultáneamente por la plataforma Microsoft Teams y YouTube, donde el video quedará grabada para su consulta. We welcome you to the Permanent Seminar on Urban Issues organized by the Doctorate in Urbanism community at the Autonomous University of the State of Mexico. This is being broadcast from the cities of Texcoco and Toluca in Mexico and Juba in South Sudan. Today's conference is presented by David Geng Kech Guandong, who holds a Master's of Engineering degree. His education: in 2006, he received a bachelor's degree in rural planning at the University of Juba College of Community Studies and Rural Development in Khartoum, Sudan. In 2010, he received a postgraduate diploma in Peace and Development at the University of Juna Institute of Peace and Strategic Studies, Juba, South Sudan. In 2015, he received a master's degree in rural development planning at the University of Juba College of Community Studies and Rural Development in South Sudan, Juba. His area of research: impact of oil exploration on civil population in Unity State, Bentiu. In 2021, he received a master's degree of engineering in urban and rural planning in the Department of Urban Planning and Design at Beijing Jiaotong University, School of Architecture and Design in Beijing, China. His area of research: impact of land use planning policy and communities resilience. A case of Central Equatoria State, Juba, South Sudan. His work experience: in 2007 to 2016, he was an assistant inspector for land use planning. 2016 to 2018, he was promoted to inspector for land use planning. 2018 to 2022, he worked as an assistant director for land registrar in the Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development in RSS Juba. In 2012, he led the UN Habitat Project in the area of land management and land conflicts in Lake State, Rembok, to coordinate with the line ministries of physical infrastructure and the National Ministry of Lands, Housing and Urban Development in RSS Juba. In 2020, he published an article on urban resilience communities, a case study of South Sudan in Central Equatoria State, Juba. Maestro David, please go ahead.
Yes. Can I start now?
Yes, you can.
Okay. Hello, everyone. Good morning. Good evening. As today's presentation is based on the conference on the urban issues, and this is, of course, there are the outline table of content. This mainly focus on the inclusive cities in need for local area planning on urban resilience. Of course, the table of content is mainly based on abstracts, introduction, three way of smart city development. What is area planning in terms of definition, and then 5 is objective, and then we find a map of South Sudan. Number 7 is problem statement, and then the affected outcomes. Number 9 is need for resilient, smart cities, and innovative approach to design the urban planning and design in the urban cities. And then this, of course, is happy city for whole. And then number 10 is a framework of city in need. Lastly, the leadership roles. And then, of course, we have to define the area planning. City planning is a future vision of developed urban areas and encourage on sustainable and inclusive economic development and are yielding a high quality of life for all by excelling in multiple complementing dimensions. Of course, it's like a smart cities in which there should be people and then economic governance and then the mobilities. We find also environments, living, all this, it should be used the help of ICT and social collaborations. Of course, after South Sudan has experience of substantial urban resilience, we find the lack of proper planning, informal housing, grow and stand as one of the most underdeveloped nation in East Africa in terms of smart urban planning. 2 is, however, no proper research as systematically examined for the need of city resilience, along with the impact of urban planning policies in the context of area planning within Juba City, South Sudan. You all know that South Sudan is just got independent in 2011. It is still young countries. There's so many policies not yet rough, and then the government is working hard so that to make sure that urban planning policies and the laws should be passed by the parliament. 3 is effective need of urban resilience depend on the illness of urban system. They need to be supported by strong urban planning institutional arrangements. And then the system, of course, preparation of the process of preparedness, the city and its authority need to put guidelines and provide the necessary updates throughout the outbreak. Apart from critical issues such as land, physical infrastructure, transport, ecology, and environment, housing, socio-cultural and other institutional facilities, and the cornerstone for making Juba a city for living. A world-class city is the planning process itself and related aspect of governance and management. This needs a coordinated effort and integrated approach among the several stakeholders that involved with urban services. Of course, what is put it to understand the complexity management and how it reflects on societal well-being and the enhancement of urban system. So the introduction now is the first of 15 years. Many scholars have written about the issue that related to lack of local area planning of the urban resilient cities in South Sudan, especially Juba Central Equatorial State. Even after highlights, we all know that disaster and development agenda often go hand in hand. The South Sudan is located in the eastern part of Africa, and some of the states are vulnerable to flooding, to earthquake, to forest fire, man-made disaster, and among others, also occur frequently. Number 2 is almost the entire country is prone to disaster for which preparedness and prevention are necessarily for eastern in Unity State and Upper Nile, Warab, Jonglei, and Awil State. These are the states of South Sudan who are actually affected by this disaster. Number 3 is also the runaway growth of bigger cities in Juba, because the returnees and refugees that are coming from the Sudan and then from other neighboring countries during the war in the country disintegrated the social and physical structure as a result. So also the lack of well-planned development that have also made the urban living very difficult in insecure and crime-prone, particularly for the weakest section of economy of the society. The poor women, elderly, children, disabled, also the growth has been in the form of informal settlement and free urban settlement, which are actually often unserved for living. Number 4 is smart city must have smart governance, smart infrastructure, and smart urban planning, smart transport system, and smart security system. All these should be relied if there is policies in the country, and then we have to implement those policies. So let us repeat the definition: cities that utilize information and communication technology with the aim to increase the life quality of their inhabited while providing sustainable development. Again, the old city areas largely inhabited by the low class section have remained neglected, leading to poor urban housing and infrastructure services together with urban segregation. The growing economic, of course, situation in the country is still there is a rapid growth of informal and suburban areas with the lack of public transport in terms of connectivities, and then communication, insecurity, and infrastructure, of course, including police station, street lighting, public toilet, fire station. This add to the urban safety challenges. Again, endangering like natural disasters, geological, hydrological, air, and man-made disasters such as physical human settlement. All these contribute to these challenges. So again, we coming to the 3 way of a smart city development. We need to we all know that smart built from the start, so as to attract the business and resident with the master plan that use technology to in terms of ICT into local planning practice, so as to effectively deliver services. Also, it can be called field cities. Number 2 is existing cities also made smart in terms of city renewal program or redevelopment of the old building need to be broken down so that the government can start the new ones. Number 3 is the purpose-driven cities, which can be the government can establish with a special purpose, such as they can realize these outlines. Like for example, you have industrial cities, science town, and then educated cities, happy cities, and health cities. All these should be realized when the policies will be out. Of course, this area, the total area of South Sudan land is most of the total land in South Sudan is uncultivated. You know the population of the country just only 12 million. Always the one state can host this small population. Here the problem of settlement is already the city faces significant challenges during the disaster outbreak crisis in South Sudan. Number 2 is building urban resilience require looking at a broadened holistic thinking and to understand the local area planning practices in terms of technology transfer. It need to be the city should be smart in terms of technology, and then you use the ICT. Number 3 is we have a problem of communication, and then mobility and planning, preparedness and other issues to the cities in South Sudan. And then also lack of greenery and quality of life in the urban built environment. Also, this is another issues. Again, lack of education also is need to be awareness of the resilience and local area planning. This also the government need to be looked into all this, because without education there's no future generation. So The critical reflection on the important topic of resilience for us to be seen as boundaries, concept which actually indeed need to be assessed and understood in this regard. Finally, of this statement of the problem is poverty and underdevelopment remain also significant challenges within the rural and urban cities. You know that maybe you can heard about the news. There's a very serious problem of flood-affected urban areas in Unity State. Unity State is one of the oil-rich states in South Sudan. You can see these are the urban areas. They displace mass population. Even the Helmol are also displaced and become a friend to the human person. This is the objective of cities in need. Cities need to be inclusive and responsive to the demand and need of all, including those who are limited to different able communities. Again, number one is to promote cities that respond equally to everyone in need and sustainable urban development. Number two is to promote settlement planning design that enhance community cohesion and social interaction in the urban cities in Juba. Number three is technology transfer into local area planning practices on the urban resilience need to be, the local government need to be carry out this in a coordinated effort. Number four is to improve the living condition in informal settlement by providing public infrastructure and community services. You have to provide the services like education, like water supplies, like power supplies, and then sanitation, and then sewage waste management. Again, also to improve the urban resilience, community and city management. All this should be realized. Actually, during the time of outbreaks like COVID-19, people are really suffering of these outbreaks. And then the planning and design that promotes social diversity and resident participation, breaking social segregation and inequality. To provide right information and right services to right people, the internet beneficiaries, especially the vulnerable group, at the right time. Ensure proposed development conform the city process. The policies should be drafted, and then the urban planning institution should engage the lawmakers so that they can put this one into consideration. Lastly, to improve planning productivity so as to create visual and analytical presentation that can allow the stakeholders to understand really. We know all planners, we need to make a very clear guidelines on how you convince the various stakeholders that did not understand really the urban issues. Now the expected results, this research aims to focus for cities indeed for local area planning and urban resilience on the cities management. Set on the technological process for resilient planning impact assessment for LCCT planning in the area of Juba City. Number two is the topic expected to have a positive impact on natural environment protection and urban rural planning, quality improvement, and social inclusiveness of the urban growth in Juba, South Sudan. Number three, this will improve urban green infrastructure and intelligent transport and smart cities. Actually, there's no policies of urban infrastructure, urban green infrastructure in place, but the planners in all countries now, they are mobilizing the resources so that we can push a draft of green infrastructure, and then they push the lawmakers so that can be South Sudan can have the the policies of green infrastructure. Number 4 is to improve urban planning and land use planning policies that will direct development in the way which protect the eco-diversity and structure from harm. Again, number 5 is the various stakeholders should actually take a whole system planning approach to the management of the city. Lastly, planning mechanisms are also needed so as to support investment promotion in the urban resilient infrastructure. Here we have an approach to design the happy city for all eco-diversity. Urban planners need real time, not just historical document. The real time data, not just forecasted or forecasted data. We really need to work very hard as urban planners. Now we have the framework of inclusive city in need. Number 1 is adaptability, and then accessibility, affordable. All this should be the framework of inclusive city in need. To the need and acceleration of the local area planning. Again, urban resilience, we all know that we need the management in terms of institutional and operational at the national level, and then various level of the government. And then the other side, we have the provision in terms of services, in terms of supplies, when the outbreak open at any times. There should be preparedness, and then there should be the management of all these services that to be carried out to the need and acceleration of the local area planning. Again, I have the accessible for all. Of course, we have the monitoring and evaluation. We have the participatory approach core group committee on the need and acceleration of the city. Again, there should be knowledge centers, research and development of the newer technique and model, case study, the test bed, also provide awareness and training at the different level of the government to the urban planners, architects, IT, and engineers. We have adaptable to whole. We have to know that there should be sign language board on how to communicate. This is the communication planning. You need to make sure that you communicate the language that they can understand by the stakeholders. So citizen awareness, top to bottom approach based system. Sometimes it should be vice versa. It should be bottom up approach, so that it depends on the country level. If one is grievance are hard and acted upon, there should be support of policies and change mechanisms. Affordability should be a quality of life standard higher the better. Right to life, economically and viable. Right to equality, financial, feasible. Yes, of course, we have the role of leadership. We have urban planners, and then we have municipal or city council. We have urban local bodies. We have public-private partnership with collaborators, because we need to do partnership with the developers, and then so that you can be able to achieve the idea and objective that you are mean to intend. Mission and mission, progressive and inclusive city in need, technology input, and then public-private partnership with the vision and cooperation of all stakeholders. Methodology, of course, is to be adopted, understanding the city in need for local area planning on the urban resilience in holistic thinking that can define conceptual background of the city, its genesis, economic background, social cultural background, demography, ecosystem, revenue option, and issues and challenges, assessing major sectors, including transportation, and then energy, telecom, and sanitation. Number two is the best concept that propose blueprint of the smart city to be involved in according to the signature style of the city. Three is choosing suitable, cost-effective, indigenous technologies. For instance, like toolkit, be chosen and adopted to capture and store the relevant content benefiting the contact. Lastly, to facilitate better engagement with the community who can support the gathering of the feedback of ideas. So this research study will involve a qualitative approach through a case study design for the data collection, document review, and field survey will be also conducted to compare the city in need for local area planning using technology transfer into local practice. That will actually guided by regulatory framework. Again, acknowledging the role of stakeholders in planning practice, city council, leadership, real estate, developers, citizens, and NGOs, which should be on board. Also, development planning of health city and communication planning also should be a key objective of this methodology. In line with such planning management suggestion and reflect the idea of communication planning as well as the reliability of information sources is also very important for the different stakeholders. Also, the web-based urban planning tool for planners professionals. This is, of course, the literature review. It is to say that the urban development is the backbone of any developed and developing country. That is to say, economic development is the palace of quality of life. For that reason, some of the whole building in the urban cities need to be broken down, and city renewal program has to be introduced so as the city can look in good shape. Therefore, learning from international best practice criterion in related to such, for instance, we have like Mexico, US, UK, China, Japan, and among others that actually people like technical people like urban planners and other engineers can do the like global research in those I just mentioned countries. The World Research Institute focus also on urban resilience and urban space. The United Nations Human Settlement Program also focus on this inclusive urban development governance, like also International Institute for Environment and Development, also focus on urban resilience to adopt climate change, inclusive urban governance. Also, earlier in 2020, also more inclusive cities in East Africa also was the area of focus, working with the politic and informality, inclusive, climate resilient transport challenges in all of Africa countries. Again, the issue of SDG 11 make cities and human settlement inclusive, self-resilient, and sustainable for all. Lastly, is inclusive growth in the pace of increasing urbanization. What experience for African country, University of Dancing, board continue. This is some of the literature review that I have. So, lastly, they state on the comprehend and current understanding of reflective approach that suggests the systematic property of resilience, which is particularly to the city and operation factors. That also It furthermore explore a range of representative services that comprise of critical infrastructure, protection, physical security, and hardening, climate change adoption, cybersecurity, disaster risk reduction, hazard mitigation planning, and disaster recovery. Lastly, not the least, New South Wales government with the argument where that the infrastructure resilience is focused on the resilient plan for design and build into asset network and system. Also, again, the urban system also focus on the greater understanding of reflective approach that suggests the systematic property of resilience, which is particularly relevant to the operation factors. Furthermore, it is actually very important to put together a combined thinking approach of resilient-based infrastructure for local area planning and asset management, as proposed by Russell Kenny. Moreover, this approach responds to those supply and demand mechanisms and the overall operational need of the inclusive city. Finally, more importantly, much of the asset management comes down to resources management. And it is crucial to have a holistic plan of resources asset management that is multi-sectoral objective and multi-sectoral planning. This is one of the smart cities in Egypt. I went for short course training, and then I was managed to take a photo. This economic housing aims to provide adequate housing for citizens with middle income group by providing fully finished unit characterized by distinct architectural model and characterized by large area of green. Also, it pays to provide privacy for each stage. They choose LDG 11, which makes city and human settlement inclusive, self-resilient, and sustainable. So the above photo is the economic housing in Dar Nasser Abur cities in Egypt. This is urban expansion. It was in 2003, where we are still in one Sudan. And after independence, you know the city is expansion when the population coming back from Sudan to South Sudan, and then there's urban expansion, as you can see on the slide. In conclusion, this study will reveal the inclusive city in need for local area planning on urban resilience so as to accommodate everyone within Juba City, South Sudan. However, the smart city and urban planning now become the world of focus in terms of technology innovation and connectivities of this 21st century, especially during the outbreak of COVID-19 pandemics, which actually affect the whole world. Otherwise, urban planning will be taken over by the smart city in the near future, as many scholars are interested about this technology advancement as well as resilient and sustainable urban city planning. Thank you. This is the end of the presentation. Hello?
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Any questions? Please go ahead. Dr. Daniel, please go ahead.
Thanks. Only Daniel. Congrats for the investigation. Geng? David Geng?
Thank you. Thank you.
I hope that the issue will be have a positive impact on the protection of natural environment, urban and rural planning, quality, improvement, and social inclusion of urban growth in Juba. I sincerely hope that you find a planning model that contributed to the citizen awareness. I hope. You should also quality methodology. Have you considered increasing the literature review towards case studies in Mexico of American continent? For example, participatory budgeting in Brazil, urban resilience programs in Mexico. Sorry, can you understand me?
Yes.
Thanks. I consider that the literature review is small. We have a study case American continent very similar. Maybe more or less economic resource, but similar. Do you as consider?
Yeah, the positive impact of some of the cities in South Sudan, especially I focus on the Central Equatoria, which is mainly the host seat of the national government of South Sudan. The primary challenges for South Sudan is to perform sustainable urbanization and achieve the SDG 11 in cities and urban areas. I quite understand this is a very interesting question, but I will put it into the consideration because this topic I am interested to work on it, to build it more, and then if I have chance to study PhD for the future, and then I will develop this such topic. Thank you for your question. I hope you understand me.
I wish you success. I will repeat. I sincerely hope that you find a planning model that contributed to citizen awareness. I sincerely hope. I congratulate because you showed an image with the model of building more design levels heights. I consider that compact city is answer and the current urbanism. Congratulations and thanks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor. Thank you so much.
Yes, I have a question.
Welcome.
It's in two parts. First of all, I recognize you said some of the problems that you have include some of the problems that you have include the lack of proper planning, which is something that we do experience here in America, in the American continent. Sorry, you mentioned unplanned or informal development. This is a phenomenon that we also experience here. However, you mentioned that your country started in 2011 and you have had the opportunity to plan. So you mentioned that you have some vulnerable areas such as flooding, earthquakes, and forest fires. How are you planning in order to alleviate some of these problems that you are having in South Sudan? Also, how are you planning to have the city inclusive and responsive? And lastly, you mentioned that there's a top-to-bottom approach. And if you are speaking about inclusivity and inclusive city, in what context are you speaking of when you say it's a top-to-bottom approach?
Okay, thank you so much. Very interesting question, but it's too difficult. But you know, South Sudan, as I've just mentioned in my presentation, South Sudan is a newborn country, but we lack a lot of policies development in place. Question one, South Sudan, some of the states are affected by flooding, and then the problem of political will in the country is sometimes the policymakers, they did not take it seriously in terms of resilient mitigation, in terms of to adopt and then to have a preparedness in place in terms of planning and then budget all in those issues. But again, South Sudan, they have a beautiful urban planners that actually in the country, because urban planning is a new in the countries. They are very few. Now we are trying to have an association of urban planning so that we can be able to engage the various stakeholders and how to take this idea seriously in terms of inclusive cities. Now, World Bank now came up with this idea of inclusive city, city resilient. Now they are trying to carry out the data collection. I am also part of the committee recently. The undersecretary of the ministry where I working, they delegated me to join the technical team. I was trying to push also this idea of inclusive cities, because of course when we say inclusive city, we need to realize the basic need and social and cultural economics. We have school, hospital, and then road, telecommunication, and then power supplies, clean drinking water. All this should be inclusive, because no one will be left behind. Everyone should be in board so that they can be able to realize the inclusive and then the services. Of course, in South Sudan, we have urban migration, because those who are in rural area, they are looking for opportunities in terms of school, hospital, and all this. That's why now the cities have become huge in terms of urban growth. Yeah. This is, I don't know if I can, if I answer you well. This
yes,
how,
you did. You did. It's just the latter part. You mentioned that you are implying you are embarking on a top to bottom approach. And my question is to why you mentioned it is based on the city. So what about your city warrants it to have a top to bottom approach instead of having a bottom up approach?
Yeah, very good question. You know, in other countries like now South Sudan, because the country is still young, and then there's the two ways. One is if you do the top-up approach, so that you need to provide that you have the laws, you have the law enforcement, so that you can the government can have an idea of developmental project, and then it's like you follow the law, and then you carry out the development services. After that, the citizen or the community can rely that this idea of top-down approach is a better way of carrying out the development. And then the other thing, bottom-up approach is it can come where you need to carry out the awareness campaign, and then you have to provide that the better communication to the citizen, understanding the project and then the programs, so that they can be you bring them on board, and then you give them like workshop, and then audience gathering, so that they can understand better the idea of carrying out those urban planning in those areas.
Yes.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
That's one example. That's one.
Mm-hmm.
That one example that opened some years back. There was a NGOs. They were carrying out the project on building construction of the school, and then they start building the school, and then they they finish the building construction, and then after building, they were trying to they mobilize the citizen in that area, and then they open the school now, and then when they went back, the community now they came with the head of cattle, and then they this school become the building of cattle keepers. Because they did not understand actually the idea of this was a top-down approach. Because if they really do the bottom-up approach, they can understand better, and then they cannot just bring their goat and then cattle to put in these buildings. This is the challenges of how top-down approach should be looked critically. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Any other questions? ¿Alguna otra pregunta?
Yo solo felicitar al conferencista. David, very interesting conference. Congratulations. The African urban planners will have to adapt the theory to their context. It just as it was in Latin America a century ago.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
¿Alguna otra pregunta o comentario?
Terminemos ya.
Okay, if nothing else, can we close up today?
Ya no hay.
Eduardo?
No más.
Eduardo.
No, maestra.
Sí, está bien.
Sí, cerran.
Bueno.
Agradecele.
Okay, so we have come to a close to today's session. Thank you very much, Engineer David Geng, Kech, Guandong, for your participation today, and we congratulate you. Congratulations also on your appointment with the World Bank, and we wish you all the best success to you. So today we close this session. Yes, we are about to close the session from the cities of Toluca and Texcoco in Mexico and in South Sudan as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
That's all for today.
David.
Thank you so much. I hope we will meet in the future. We'll meet in person in the future. Can I share it to you through WhatsApp? The